The Indian corporate sector has been making superlative profits in recent times, particularly from the post COVID times. We have been seeing the Indian corporate sector report profits like they have never seen in the past. So, the highest profit that the Indian corporate sector had posted in the past was about 4 trillion rupees or 4 lakh crore rupees. In 2019-20, this shot up to 5.6 trillion, which is a 25% increase over any number in the past. And in 21-22, this number has already gone up to 6.7 trillion rupees. 6.7 trillion rupees worth of net profit earned by the Indian corporate sector from a small sample of around 3,300 companies compared to a number like 5.6 trillion based on a sample of 25,000 companies. So the 6.7 trillion still has a lot of headroom. This number can go up beyond 7 trillion as well. If it does so, it will be a much higher number compared to any number seen in the past, like 4 trillion or even 5.6 trillion. So it's a fantastic time for Indian corporates. They made great profits. The question is, what have they done with it? And that's an interesting answer we get when we go digging to find out what have they done with the number. In the recent past, till COVID hit us, we found that Indian corporates were largely or increasingly taking the profits out as dividends. So the retained profits were a smaller proportion compared to in the past, and the trend was a declining retained profit ratio. But both in 2021 and in 21-22, we saw the Indian corporate sector raise the retained profits. So as profits rose, entrepreneurs or management decided it's a good idea for us to retain the money inside the company. Now, when a company retains more of the profits with itself, it obviously has a greater use for the money. And mind you, this number has gone up to 60%. 60% of the profits are now retained by corporates with them. The question then arises, what are they doing with the money? And the most striking answer we find is that what are they not doing with the money? They are not investing this money into expansion of their capacities. That was the most obvious thing we would have expected, that if you make a lot of profit, if you retain that profit with you, then you will utilize that money to expand your capacity so that the future growth is also high or maybe even higher. With such high profitability, it makes sense to create more capacities and feed the demand even more. But corporates are not doing that. We see this by just looking at a very simple number. The gross fixed assets of non-finance companies in 2021 and 21-22 grew in the range of 6 to 7% year on year. If you adjust this for inflation, there's almost no growth. And if you remove the impact of depreciation, if you look at net fixed assets, that growth is only 2% or so. So they are not investing. Worse still, the growth in plant and machinery is just 1%. So there is not any move by the corporate sector to utilize these great profits that they have retained with themselves to invest into plant and machinery, to invest into growing their capacities. So what have they done with the money? They have decided that it makes sense to invest into these companies without investing into fixed capital formation. So the corporates have invested into the equity markets. They have invested into the debt markets. These investments have grown by 17 to 18% in the last couple of years. And mind you, as you mentioned earlier, their investments into fixed assets, into plant and machinery is in low single digits. And in 17 to 18% increase in equity means that they do have confidence in the profits of the Indian corporate sector. They do have confidence in business growing, but they do not see a need to invest into plant and machinery to grow their capacities. They're expecting the free ride they have got in the last 2 years to continue. They're smart people. They know how to utilize their money. They don't see a need as yet to invest into plant and machinery, but this cannot continue for long. I'm sure In due course, they will find a reason to utilize their huge reserves that they have built now into the creation of new capacity. But that's not happening anytime soon. We're going to wait for a little longer.